This is the all-new generation of the Range Rover Evoque, and here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars, with Thomas, we'll take you on a tour on the exterior and the interior, tell you all about the new features and the possible new technologies, also about the engines. What has changed to the previous generation? What to expect here from the new Evoque? Let's dig deeper in full HD, full screen, and full length. Let's go. Looking at the front here, I'll soon show you the previous generation too to compare it, but here in this new generation I can already tell you it has slimmer headlamps right there. Also interesting how the LED daytime running signature is styled, looks really textile, really modern. You can also get now those LED lamps, of course. Those are, by the way, standard now. Standard now LED also from the lower trims. That's pretty cool. Also a more integrated front grille. Everything is sleek, looks streamlined. This one's so-called first edition, so it also has some copper elements right there, and also with a special bumper, for example, in the lower part. Also very interesting color. It has a very interesting gray nuance. What do you think here about the new styling? Of course, it still has some strong Range Rover bonnet right there, and some design lines also on top of the hood right there. They are evolving. Overall, I think this one goes in the design direction of a Velar, the bigger brother of this vehicle. And it's also available in some of the same colors. Let's see how that one continues out over through the whole vehicle. The length is at 4.33 meters, 172 inches or 14'3". And so the length has not been touched that much. There has been a slight increase in the wheelbase, and if that one has any effect on the inside, we'll see later. So this one here is the so-called R Dynamic line. So we have a small badge right there. 21-inch rims is the maximum available. Looks pretty massive, of course. It starts with 17-inch rims. You can see the high belt line and the small roof shape, small roof line, low right here as well. This one is the basic shape of the Evoque, and that has also remained the same. Here with interesting copper accentuations, I think that's a very daring design element, but why not going two-tone? Also here again with this black contrast roof, you can go for this, adds some more dramatic to it. Those door handles here, by the way, they flip out. It's like with the Velar, and then you can open the door and they go in again when you drive, or for example when you close the car. The ground clearance, by the way, is at 21 centimeters right there, which is in this segment actually a quite notable one. And you can see the tail lamps, they already begin a little bit at the side profile. Let's see how that plays out for the rear perspective. And we can see in the rear it has those newly designed tail lamps. They are definitely slimmer again and also have a new LED signature. Overall, you see this one horizontal line. The whole car looks even more horizontal. Then also with the sporty diffuser, there will of course be different trims available. This again here with this first edition where you have some copper elements. But it stays basically true to its original design. From the exterior, definitely rather an evolution than a revolution, because it has still this distinctive design of the first generation, that one that was actually a reason to be a bestseller at Land Rover. Oh, and by the way, if you again wondered how did the first generation look like, that was it. You can see the tail lamps are not that horizontal. It looks maybe even a little bit stronger. The newer one maybe a little bit more elegant, so just as a comparison. Great color here, by the way. So as engines, there will be a 2-liter diesel with 150 horsepower, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, 180 horsepower all-wheel drive or 240 horsepower all-wheel drive. And then as petrol engines, there's a 2-liter turbo engine with 250 horsepower or 300 horsepower. And on the technology side, they want to solve the consumption problem, because especially the petrol engines so far had too high consumption in the previous generation. Now, as soon as you go for an automatic gearbox, you will also receive a mild hybrid system for your engine with 48-volt board net. This is then supposed to boost the sailing or coasting function. and also recuperate some energy to bring the consumption down. Also, there will be a so-called driveline disconnect. That means that all the rear parts of the all-wheel drive are decoupled as soon as the rear torque is not being needed. So this front plus rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, it was there before, but now it works in a way that the rear parts do not consume any fuel because they are then not spinning when they are not needed. And here we go with the interior, where they use soft touch as the top part of the inside of the doors, so that feels good. It's also an interesting surface. The surface is somehow structured. Then some spots here at the inside of the doors, but it's rather slim. Range Rover entry bed. This one is the first edition. Therefore, it also features animal skin seats, but there are plenty of choices available for fabric. There's a base fabric seat in black. There is a fabric seat, a special one with eucalyptus part in black and also in grey. And then there's a so-called quadrat interior in grey and black as well. This has parts of wool in it and the rest fabric. But so a lot of non-leather choice available. So that's a great choice. You can see here the steering wheel has been taken over from the Range Rover Velar, and overall this whole interior, it looks like a small Velar for sure. Option, you can get those 12.3-inch digital instruments. We'll soon take a look at those. And you can see the covers here. They have a lot of different materials also, so they don't have to use black plastic all over the place. And now let's get inside. You know, it's a compact SUV, and you also feel that right here. But the feeling when you're getting inside is indeed like a small Velar, but you just sit a little bit lower. That's definitely very interesting. You feel a little bit caged in. That was the theme of the Evoque also before. So it's more built around you. You don't have this very open, free look. It's more that you have a, some more sporty atmosphere where the cockpit is then built around the driver. Some might find it a little bit too narrow. And was really anxious to know that your left foot right there in the very front, when you want to rest it here, it does not fit for long feet. That was the case before. I thought they would have removed that floor in the new generation. They did not. So when you want to rest your foot, it's more like directly next to the brake pedal, which is, not that practical, I think. So I'm 1.86 m or 6'1", and that leaves me some headroom here left. There is the panoramic roof inbuilt, but that should not affect the headroom if you go for it or if you don't go for it, because it's a fixed one. It cannot be opened, but it goes all over the car as a panoramic roof, just with the shade open and back. So got the seat in the lowest position. So tall people get along here, but you have to get used somewhere to get a room for your feet if they are too long. And again, the main theme is it's not an open, free look SUV, so that's different, for example, in the the big Discovery or then the Discovery Sport. Again, the Evoque more follows the Range Rover line, where it wants to also show you a sportier interior. In the Velar, for example, you definitely have more room. So although the style is somewhat the same now, still the Velar is the more elaborate big SUV, and of course way higher in price too. Interior overview, again, it's a somewhat, well, not entirely hardback, but not super soft, but it's an interesting structured surface here on the dashboard. They can also see the head-up display unit right there, which is available. Here the screen, it turns a little bit towards you when you start or close it. So when you start it, it turns towards you. When you then open the door and leave the vehicle or close the vehicle, then the screen goes in. Well, doesn't do it at the moment. Probably when I go outside and close the wheel, but I can see that it's just turned a little bit. This is then, there we go. Here, then you saw it. A 10-inch right there, widescreen format. But you see it's basically split here in the lower part. You have, for example, the climate unit. So a little bit like Audi does it now in their big cars. have the climate unit in the lower part right there. And then when you press it, you can also change the functions when the car is running. So seat can be also reached by that when you have the seat heating, for example. But the car has to be on, everything is fully powered for that. You can see the steering wheel also comes a little bit towards you. It's really a small velar, look at that. Everything looks like in the velar. And so when you sit in the front, you could be just sitting in the velar, but you sit a little bit lower. So in the velar, you definitely sit more upright. And a classic shifting lever right there, as well as some room here under the middle console, that is possible. And then this top part here, I mean, not such a fan of this rubber pad. You can just remove it like this. Then we have some cup holders, but they're also adaptive somewhat. And under the armrest, it's a split armrest, and then there are 2 USB supplies as well as a 12-volt power supply. Here the digital instruments, we basically know them also from other Jaguar Land Rover models. The good thing is that when you have a map routed, that you can have the GPS in the middle part, that makes it more flexible. And the head-up display, for example, with allowed speed and current speed, and it will also show some GPS commands. On the steering wheel, those are not real buttons, so to say. They are basically seamlessly integrated, like here, and then you can turn up the volume or turn it down again, or for example pick up the phone. And the right side is for heated steering wheel, or for example also for the cruise control. This is the infotainment screen, all done by touch, so you can connect your phone via Bluetooth, but also now finally, oh no, I don't want to hear that now. Finally, they also offer Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support, so they switched over from their just in-control apps way. That's good that they finally offer that. Also some cameras are being offered. Some guys there here at the dealers here. So the rear view camera is standard, by the way, now. So it does come with some equipment already for that 37,000 euros start price. At least that's the one in Germany, for example. Let's take a look at the GPS as well. We know it already from some GLR models. It's, you know, improved a little bit in the responsiveness. Looks also quite good as for the visualization. Meanwhile, the routes, when you have it entered, somehow I had some problems here and there, but overall I think it's a quite well usable system now. And as I said, it's the most important that they finally offer now also the CarPlay and Android Auto integration. That's pretty cool. And the resolution overall also looks pretty nice. One more look here at the lower screen, where on the right side you can check the vents, for example, and when you press it, you can check the temperature. Now we can also control it. The car is properly powered again. In the lower part here, for example, on the left side, you can also switch things, for example, control the driving modes. And when you click them again, you get to the off-road driving modes, always with a nice visualization. So you have a lot of controls that are basically on the same button, but you always have to know what you're doing. So when you switch to the climate, then you have them both sides, the climate here, press them. Press them here. That's, for example, strange. Why don't I get to the vent strength now? So that's then here again. Here, the aircraft control. Then when I press it, here it doesn't switch back, you know what I mean? So I would expect I press it and it switches back to the vent strength, for example. In the Velar you can also pull them, for example, to get to the seat heating, but they didn't do that here, obviously. So you have to go, over this menu then for that. And by the way, they are also promising a transparent bonnet feature. Well, it will be that you will get a big screen then in a big camera image on the front screen, that you can basically see what's in front of you. So like an extensive front camera. We can see that at a later stage. This very vehicle is not equipped with it. So in the rear, the length, of the vehicle has remained with the same, but the wheelbase has been improved a little bit. And indeed, you can feel and see that with the legroom. Well, the rear bench is falling down a little bit from the angle, but you can see I'm positively surprised that there's still actually a lot of legroom left, also if you compare it to the previous generation. I can still sit here as a tall person, even though when the roof would be closed, the cover of the roof, I have to say. Again, this panoramic roof, it looks great to look outside, but you cannot open it. You can surely argue for and against it. Although I have some more legroom here now, it's not the most comfortable position because, as I said, it's a little bit leaned back as for the angle. but it surely works to drive in it with 4 tall adults. On the middle seat, it's really a little bit tougher. It's a little bit stiffer, of course, and you have the middle tunnel, but it works for smaller routes, but again, pretty stiff on this middle part for sure. Then you have a middle armrest with cup holders and ISOFIX at the outside parts of the seats each. So let's open that hatch. 610 liters is the basic setup. You see here it's quite square dimensions. If I take measurements for the length, it's about 82 centimeters in length. Of course, the car is not too long at all, and it's just over 1 meters in width right there. There's some more room here underneath, and we cannot flip the seats from here, but we have to go around and then flip them to reach the maximum capacity of 1,430 liters. You can see here it's a 1/3 2/3 split. You have to move the head restraints a little bit up, and you can put them a little bit flatter. That does take some work. The middle part can also be flipped. That's possible too if you just want to use the ski hatch. And now if I flip the other side, you can see how we can load things through. So overall, you're still quite flexible. I think we can live with that. You can of course also remove that top cover. And if you wonder about the trunk capacity in cubic feet, it's 21.5 cubic feet up to 50.5 cubic feet. Well, and now to our conclusion for today with the all-new Range Rover Evoque. Well, they said they basically changed every part except for like 1 or 2 or something. From the exterior, it's rather an evolution for sure, and it looks like a small Range Rover Velar. The same also accounts a little bit for the interior, just that you have, of course, a little bit less room and you sit more upright, sit more lower. So it is already an SUV, but you don't have a super high SUV seating position. What is good that you now have more legroom in the rear compartment. And also from the styling here, it looks pretty cool, pretty clean, and also again like a small Velar, also with the new infotainment, now finally with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support, and also promised over-the-air updates, for example. The build quality, we've seen a lot of great materials, and it's really awesome that they offer a lot of fabric seating choices, so you have great style, great choices, even in the higher trims if you don't want to go for an animal skin surface. Even Jaguar Land Rover CEO Ralf Späth really said they want to go in this direction, and this is very important to them. And I think when a CEO tells you something like that, that's also something already. Not shown here today, but we'll surely catch up to that one later when we show different seating choices, maybe at the driving event, for example. Some parts, of course, where you maybe say there can be some improvement, where you have some levers for plastic stuff, but it always depends. And this is one of the first prototype vehicles. We'll see out how that one plays then with the driving review, when there's also a car that is more from series production. But especially they paid attention to a lot of surface which you can see and touch, and those one look actually quite good. Also with the luggage compartment in the rear, I think you can be quite happy. Starting prices will be, as said, in Germany about 37,000 euros and about 31,000 pounds in the UK. But of course you can top it up and almost double the price if you spec everything in this vehicle and also go for a bigger engine. Especially looking forward to drive the new mild hybrid engine, because one of the flaws of this vehicle was it has a very high consumption so far in the previous generation. We'll also test it at the driving event if that one went lower now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and also looking forward to your feedback here now for the new Evoque.